G'day and welcome to this video on the Fairlane's Plenum chamber repair. Big job, actually. Not hard, just time consuming, although it's probably hard to do it well. I've been pretty untidy about it, and the reason for that is because I was having trouble welding on surface rusted steel, which I didn't want to thin out to a fresh part because I didn't want to make it too thin. It was going to look like it was going to be too thin if I did that. So, look, it is what it is. I've done what I can. There's one more patch to put in, then I'm going to call it done and put the top back on, and we're all good. I've ordered stacks of parts for the C4. I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it properly, yeah? I've had all the plating done, and the pan re-zinced, all this sort of other stuff. The case has been hydroblasted. I've got a new thrust kit for it. I checked the end float, wasn't happy with it. You'll see it in the video. There's only a little bit on it. And the clutches, the low reverse drum was burnt, so I might change the bands as well. I'm just having trouble with the clutches. I've got a new spray clutch for it, overhaul kit, stacks of stuff for it, but I can't find the clutch packs yet, and the auto joint was shut today. It's Anzac Day. Well, Anzac Day was yesterday, sorry. I missed the dawn service, but a lot of shops have elected, or automotive shops have elected to stay shut today as well. But the good thing is I've got Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. And Monday I was planning to do the car, but the electricity company sent a letter saying the power's out from 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, which is useless because the weather's just gone to winter. I've got the XC almost finished and haven't even bothered putting the bumper on because it's cold. And there's just the bumper, power window switch and some tunings to do, and it's ready for roadworthy. So I'll do it in the spring. I've been 9 years. What's another couple of months? So I think that's all I need to say. Yes, it is. So I hope you enjoy. Right, so I reckon I was a bit untidy over the other side. What I've done is I've marked where all the spot welds. About 40 spot welds on this, and I'm using a Scotch-Brite tip to just clean the middle. And you can be blind and you can still see exactly where your spot welds are using that. And there's another example of it there. I'm going to epo-check all around this windshield and all inside here once I've cleaned it up. That was from Bunnings. It was $10 with a couple of different pads. That one is knackered now because I hit the mastic with it. They do wear reasonably quickly, but I think 100 of them or 50 of them, I can't remember, $36 or something on eBay. They're just these little things that just twist off. The spot weld drills are these, and pardon me, these are the only two that I originally had. I've got 4 now, but the other 2 are still in their packs. They got a little spike in the top. Now these remain sharp for a long time, but they do dull. I used a power file. I put these in a vise and just ran across the top with that. It does flog the paper out pretty quick because they're carbide things, I think, but it still yielded a fantastic result. And the Plenum on the EJ was a lot more complicated than this. It used a lot more rivets. There was hundreds of them, literally. So this one's not going to be any stranger to a lot of them, but what do you do? Bit of CRC. Oh, I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to center punch that, and then you can just go in. Now, I've used a pilot drill, a 2mm pilot drill, just to put a little divot where I'm going to be drawing spot welds, because I find that that point is what dulls quicker than anything else. And it doesn't take that long to get through. What I've noticed is this is quite difficult to do, not so much on here because these two materials are the same thickness, but you know, it's a lot thicker than what's on the Plenum and a lot thicker than what's there, so it's easy to bust through it if you're not careful. A cutting compound, or whatever you call it, a cutting liquid would be better, but there's 40 of these damn things. And you can see it start to chew in. That's when we have to go slow. And I reckon that's about it for that one. Get a good idea. I haven't done that one yet. But that's lifted from there. It's broken around the edge. You can... The other one I ended up sort of misshaping. There was a few spot welds in place I didn't expect. That's lifted. That's lifted. So we can just... That hasn't. That's still kind of stuck there. So we'll go through that one again. That one's lifted. Did that just move? Yeah, that moved as well. You can hammer and dolly it all flat. Just got to do that, and then we've done across there. This you've got to be careful of. It's really easy. That's lifted. That's lifted. So we're doing a better job already on this side. I just wasn't aware of how thick these were. And as I said, there's probably hundreds of them. So I'm gently lifting this all around. I've gone through there. That one there. There's a little sort of bracket there. And I still couldn't lift it, and I figured, or I found, whoops, there's my little thing. There's another one right there. In there. Sometimes they're not that visible. And the other thing I noticed on the other side, technicians were going joot joot, joot joot. There was like an oval spot weld instead of a round one, if you know what I mean, because they've just done two really close together. There's probably something beneath that too. And the good thing about this also is I get to eradicate all this rust, surface rust. One hand. The Scotchy Brite pads won't take the steel off, or won't thin the metal, but they, oh, that's smoke, the disc is worn down to the thing. Oh, there's another one there. Whoops, I can see it now. Yeah, there's another one right there, and it's not visible. Some of them are just, that's off center. I'll re-drill that to get that, but that'll take the corner out. So I'm going to have to get creative and sort of weld pieces in to make it sort of still look right. Right, I'm about to get into this. I'm just going to drink this tea first, but I've got to take the lid of that thing off. I owe you guys an apology, I really do, because Harvey actually wrote something about my disdain for gas. And I guess in order to have some disdain for something, you've got to know a bit about it, and I don't know anything about gas. I'm frightened of it. That's the problem I've got. I read somewhere that LPG is stored as liquid, hits atmosphere, expands 270 times. Petrol's volatile as well, but that really frightens me about gas. But anyway, look, that has its advantages, cheaper, and also you can run a heap of advance with it. But anyway, look, I've decided to cull it, so I'm going to use the strap to go either side of the outside of each of those straps and lift it from the centre. It's got a lot of gas in it. I found a guy to take it from me. I would have kept these straps here. I love scrap metal, but yeah, doesn't matter. Another chap wrote that he wanted some of the gas fittings, and I've got to message you back to him because he's most welcome to have them. Anyway, I'm going to lift this up and clear it out of the car. The thing is so big and heavy. I've had to actually disconnect the I had to take the boot lid off and the springs because it wouldn't slide back this way with the springs in situ. So it's like lifting a massive bomb, really, isn't it? I used to watch a show called Danger UXB with Anthony Andrews. You should give it a go. It's a really good show. Right, keep going. Look at the luggage room. Nice. I reckon I'll lower it onto a dolly. It doesn't look heavy like that, but it is. It weighs a ton. See, I'm close to the car. I haven't got much room in here. Let's go and get myself a doggy. I think I've got a Holden 6 sitting on mine, a grey motor. I saw a guy on YouTube decant one of these. Philip was going to start cutting it. There's no way in a pink fit I would do that. Sitting on my creeper. That's fairly sturdy. I'm going to wheel it up the front now and lift it up and stick it in the car. I'll have to change my glasses again. I'm just ready to say a few things. Right, so we're still pulling bits and pieces apart. I'm just draining past steering lines and getting rid of some auto transfer. The transfer that came out of that was like new. It was really red, no smells, nothing. So whatever that 45 or 35 is, it does appear to be in pretty good condition. So I've still got to take off these spring housings there. And you know what? I'm thinking to myself, I need to get this car to an industrial cleaner. You know those car wash joints? They've got a triple interceptor in the ground, and so you can get oil in there. It doesn't really matter. But I've taken all the lines out. I was going to do that gas paraphernalia. There's one chap wants that. And I'll continue taking that off. And once I've got that off, I'll do the welding. No, I won't. I'll take the fuel tank out. I got rid of the gas tank too. The guy at the survey down the road took it. So that's all, pardon me, not there. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the headlining. I do have to run another feed wire up to that centre light where the map light's going to go that was donated. Thank you very much, sir. But that headline is going to come out because I need to figure out what the rust situation is under there. Yeah. And I'll pop the doors off. It'll basically be a completely empty rolling shell. Yeah. So I'm going to cut that up, weld it up, wire brush the floor, weld up the holes that are there, or I'll have to put some plates in, and then I reckon I'll take it and get it all sort of cleaned underneath. There's a lot of mud underneath. There's a lot of grease, or sorry, oil where that steering box is leaked. There's some tow hooks I can take out, but I'll leave them on until I get back from the place to clean it up. But it's just not clean enough yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do any painting. I don't want to do anything on the car until it's properly cleaned. I've got to also take those hydraulic lines off because I'm going to put new ones on. The one underneath the vehicle is a bit rusty, externally rusty. And it's done the same thing the XD's done, where they're rusty on the sort of corners and they're not quite there. So I'll just buy a 3/16 roll of Bundy. I never buy brake lines already made up. We use the old ones as a map to how to bend them and also strap wire to them to get the lengths exactly right. That's how I've always done them. And I do it with 3/16 Bundy, then I go to a brake joint and he puts the new fittings and everything on and does double flares and whatever we need to do on it. I got a bunch of stuff at the powder coaters. They're cross member for the transmission and, you know, this sort of business. And I think I'm going to drill, double drill. I'll check these hinges. See that? I'm going to be rebuilding hinges too. Fords are notorious for that. I might rebuild all the hinges. But I want to get those off and I want to see what's behind there. The metal's clean to a point. When we clean it off to, you know, drill the rivets and this sort of stuff, once I've got it all finished, I'll just run over that with a 36 and then that'll key it and we'll epitech, because I'm going to have epitech all through that plenum. And I'll take the sway bar off, and I've got to also, I've taken the caliper and everything off the other side, but I haven't done on this side yet. So, you know, it's good fun. I know it sounds like I'm probably talking through my hat, but it is actually good fun. I like doing this sort of stuff. It's very much like the Sigma job that I did, except a little bit bigger. We're putting a bigger engine in and changing some suspension springs and stuff like that. They do look pretty meaty though, those ones. But I don't think they're going to be much good if they're for a 6. So that's where we're at. Right, well, this absolutely sucks. I knew it would be. You know what? It's actually a lot simpler than the EJ, but it's a harder one to do because there's so much hanging off it. I've actually cut across there. Yeah, it's all covered by that brace, and I'll put another brace behind it, but it doesn't matter. We're running into the rusty bits now, down in the bottom there. And we unpicked all the top, and you have to also unpick in here, that whole thing. I didn't want to take that out, sorry, the wiper mount out, because because it was just harder to get to, I guess. But I have to take this off in its entirety because that whole floor of the plenum is absolutely rusted out. I'll give you a quick update on the auto. Right, our little C4 automatic, we've done a few things. I've decided that I'm going to listen to what some people have said, and I also was thinking about this myself. I'm rebuilding the sprag in it because I've got a couple of sprag rebuild kit with the balls and the little springs isn't dear, it's like $50 or $40 or something. The end float is too much, so I've got a new set of shims coming. What do you call it? Not shims. Thrust washers, and I might have to shim up the one in there. I've also got a new set of steel clutch plates, but I'm having trouble finding the friction plates. So I've also got the kit which has all the balls and gaskets and the little rings, the governor rings there, and the front pump ones and so forth. That's the input shaft I ordered, but this is all going pretty well. There'll be a separate video on this. Right, well, I've got the plenum off. It's just sitting there for now. It all came off well, but I've murdered that area there. It's rusty, and I'm going to rebuild that area there. This is a very poor design, in my view. It's a very big plenum, a lot of room inside. I would think there could be, to make it quieter, so pressure can equalise in there before it gets in the cabin. Otherwise, if it's too shallow or small, it'd be very drafty sort of sounding. So they'll probably make it quite big for those sorts of reasons. What I don't like about this is the fall. It all goes to one side, and it all exits out of that little hole right there. A lot of room for debris and all this sort of stuff to sit in that area there. It's a bit of a concern because, you know, back when people used to park these on the street everywhere, you've got your crown in the middle of the road, and it falls either side for water, so it doesn't sit on the road. For drainage and that sort of thing, and this means right-hand drive cars that are parked on the left are going to pool water, and it's not going to be able to escape. There's also no gauze or anything here, and that's also a bit of an issue because leaves and all sorts of things can get in. If I pull this off, let's have a look at the damage. Now, I haven't yet cleaned up in here, so I don't know what sits beneath these sorts of areas. I'll get a vacuum cleaner actually. I want to sort of get right down in there. You can't see because the lighting's terrible. Sort of silhouetted. I want to clean all that out, so I'll sweep it off and all this sort of stuff. But the thing I'm sort of talking about is this area here, and there's a sort of a bridge that they've cut. It's actually quite impressive that they could cut that with the plenum in situ. I don't know if they did it. But that bridge looks like a strengthening thing for the firewall. There's a large plate, all Falcons have got them, that the booster and the pedal box and everything sort of connects through. So when you're operating the pedals, you don't get this flex. I imagine that is some sort of brace as well. But, I mean, it's pretty rubbish how they've done it. I don't like it at all. I don't even know what that hole there is for. Is that a drain as well? Oh, that could be a drain there as well. So what I'm going to have to do with this is we're going to have to take that off. Hang on a minute. Yes, that's all the same. I'll repair this. Not really sure whether to... I might just put an archway in it so it's a bigger... Do you know what I mean? Or put a couple of straps of... what's that stuff called? Streamer flapper across there. I don't like the idea of it being so easy and so easily corroded. That's going to have to come off too. That sort of thing to stop the water getting in. The rest of it's sound, as far as I can see. Some of the design features are good. I like the wiper motor being sort of in there like that, although you would think in that sort of environment you'd get more failures, but you don't. I've never seen a wiper motor fail on one, although it could be common. No idea, but I know on my XT it's the same as this and it doesn't got one. So I'm going to have to make this in a couple of different sections and replace some of the metal. So I think the first thing to do, we'll get the vacuum cleaner, it's going to clean all this out so we can just see what we've got. And then I think, I had a close look at this, looks like it's spotted onto there. A couple of spot welds there, a couple here, as though it's sandwiched underneath that thing. I'm going to take that off as well. But I don't know why. I don't know why they would do it like that. Why wouldn't you have a bit of fall on that side? It's probably a derivative of the XABC one, and that would have probably been a derivative of the XWXY one or XTXR one, which came from the United States. But yeah, I think that's bizarre. I actually think it's pretty rank that it's not. It's like it's designed to rust, you know. It's alright at this end though. My XD actually has rust here. A little spot there. So something's gathered up the top of it, oddly enough. Big chunks of fiberglass. So pretty messed up, really. Yeah, that's a little drain hole too. Look, if I stick my finger up here, there it is. So it comes down, it drains out of there too. So that's another drain it's got, which is quite good. Although I don't know why it has to have a 1/2 inch diameter. It could have been bigger, or they could have had several. I don't know why they've done it like that. This is the repair that I removed. That hose was sitting snug down there. It's it's different, but I mean, it would have worked to begin with, provided no moisture could get on this side, because that's already gone. And he had that exiting down behind the guard. But all it did was exacerbate the problem, I think. He ran it up to the back of the plenum, and there was fiberglass up to here. That was me breaking it away. But yeah, I mean, you would have still got a level of moisture pooling in there. That being said, that does feel quite solid. But I'm astonished he actually got that hose in. I don't know how he got it in. He must have used a snare and fished it through or whatever. But yeah, not really the way I'm going to do it. I've lost a bit of patience with this. I've decided I'm just going to cut it out. I tried to drill it, and there's more hidden spot welds, and I do have time to think about it. I've also got to run a cut. I've got to drill a spot weld out over there, because there's another one in here somewhere off the back of that vent. Oh, hang on, I can't access it. It's all full of fiberglass dust. Where is it? I think that's it there. I'm just getting smoke. I need to change this over. There it is. There, I can see it. All right. I don't know how many spot welds are on these things, but gee, you'd have to be knocking on a couple of hundred, I'd reckon. I'm still using the original 2 spot weld drills, but they're pretty knackered now. How many? Yeah, there's only one. There we go. And I want to save this because this bracket actually has a brace for the firewall where it comes up. It's spot welded there. Some people leave these out altogether. The metal's all knackered underneath, but it seems to be fairly thick up here, so I'm thinking about making a patch there. That bit of guttering's alright. And just making a thing to go in there. I'll have to take that off as well. But I am having some issue. That's not easy to get off. It's actually hard getting a decent reach on it. Sounds like a bit in a bit. I'm just going to get that off. A bit more, what do you reckon? Oh, look at this item of beauty. I've cut this without cleaning it first, which was stupid, but I don't care, because if I need to cut it further, I will. That's just a sort of a guide. So I don't like anything between sort of there and there. And under there is knackered, and under there is worse. I gave up trying to drill these out, I couldn't be bothered. So I'm just going to take this out, and I've also cut, and I'm drilling along the firewall. The firewall is sort of lipped underneath there. That is part, that folded edge is part of the lower plenum, so I'll have to make up a new piece of that, which isn't hard to do. But it's right against the seam sealer on the firewall. So it's pretty messy, but not. I don't think it's overly difficult to fix. It's just time consuming. It's very time consuming doing this sort of stuff. But particularly when I start doing this, because I haven't got any tools here, so I'm just going to have to make it up as I go along. But we'll figure it out. So I got this off. I've actually damaged that because I use an old spatula to hit in to pull the spot welds. And I didn't know about that lip. I didn't look, mind you. But anyway, this is actually really good. I'm looking at the top, and the top's actually in good nick. It's a bit misshapen. I've got a hammer and dolly it, but I don't care. All the side and down there looks to be pretty good so far. Yeah. So what I'm thinking, we've got rust holes in here. I'm going to cut it there, and then along, then up to there. Because where's some focus? Come on. There we go. Because we're getting really scaly and horrible. So I'm coming up here and going along. I think that's the best way. But yeah, that looks absolutely peach. There's nothing wrong with that. I've just got to put things back into shape because they're kind of misshapen. And the camera's focusing on stuff on the floor. But I don't want to go in there if I can avoid it. But that's perfect. Where that corner is, boom, straight in. And then across the top. And that makes the repair actually quite easy to do. Or at least not easy, but a lot simpler than what it would have been. Right, so I've cut out the pieces I think that I need to replace. And I've started cleaning up the metal. It's all random and a bit funny, but that's just with a Scotch-Brite pad. There are some scaly bits, like this. A bit of phosphoric, I think. And also, is that going to... No, it's too much reflection. Probably better without a light at all. Also around here. Now, I don't want to take out more than I have to. I've messed these sorts of things up on the firewall. I can just weld it up. Sand it off, that'll blow through, I'll just weld that up. And, you know, get that rail looking nice. And then we'll put in this bit here. Now, that does look thin down the bottom. I've got to clean that bit out there. Trouble with this sort of stuff is it's very easy to weld this sort of material, but when it's pitted and it's got rust in it, it's dirty. And we can sand all the weld off, but then, all the rust off, sorry, but then you're left with something that's really, really thin, of course, then you're blowing through. So it's a bit of a balance. So I've got to figure that out. But all down here, it actually appears to be okay. It just seems to have gathered sort of up in this area here. So I'm not going to do it per factory because I think they're wrong anyway. I'll just have, you know, I'll make the gutter the same or very similar and just put a plate there, weld it up, butt weld it, make it all nice, and then we'll epitech it. But some of the things on this, you know, like these bits here, I mean, I'm not going to touch any of this stuff, but they're so close to the skin on the upper plenum that, I mean, it's a wonder that's not rusted out. All sorts of, you know, bits and pieces like that. I've made a mess of some of this, but it'll be all right. It was actually quite hard to get off, even though it was simpler than the Holden one. The spot welds are a lot more powerful, and there was like groupings of them. Anyway, what else have we been doing? So I've removed this skin from that door. That's the original, which door is that? That's the original left-hand front door. I'm going to use that on Marty's frame. The skin's in better condition on this, so I just thought, you know what, I'll take it off and I'll put it on his frame, and it's a fairly simple job to do. I've got to sort of been kneeling it too to make sure that I can knock those down without them breaking. Right, repair panel. Don't laugh, you haven't seen it finished yet. That's where we're looking to fill up. Might have to square up the hole a bit more and cut more out. This is just an offcut out of a scrap bin at work, and I asked the bloke in there, do you mind if I take that? He said, no, go ahead. We can clean it up. And I'm going to have to cut it up and make it fit. You can see these lines here aren't straight, but that doesn't matter. I can straighten those. I couldn't care less about that. And of course, we've got to weld up those little cuts that I inadvertently did. Grind it down, clean it all up, and just start bending that over to form a lip. I'd like to make this in 2 sections. The main section, yeah, and then I'll have to have another one because this is sunk. Right, I can get that bit, but there'll have to be a patch in there. That's what I'm aiming at doing. Whee. So, let's make a start. I screwed it up. You knew I would, right? Okay, so it's not that bad. We've got that to there. I've got to cut a bit more out from the bulkhead. And I pie cut that so I can get a good emulation of that radius. This I've buggered up because I forgot that flares out. So I'll have to add a bit across there. That gets covered, you don't see it, but I do want that fold to continue. The other thing I've got to do, and in some ways it might be easier doing it while I'm welding it in. I've got that good. We've got to drop that for fall. It probably doesn't need it. What I might do, I should probably put a bit of water on there just to see if it runs out and a bit of tape over there. I do have to cut that a bit more, but I've got to put a new disc on. But so far so good. I reckon I can still do it in 2 pieces. So I had to cut that because it's too hard to wrap around, and it's got a tall side that goes up against here. The first thing though, before we weld anything or really go any further, is I'm going to put the pedal box in and the heater pod, or the vent pod, just to make sure that with those bits, because the heater box, or the pedal box, is going to determine a lot of things, like how much room we've got and this sort of stuff. I can't see it being a problem, but it would be really bad to weld all this together, paint it, do all this stuff, and then find out it doesn't fit. So, just as precautionary, we'll strap it up to where the booster goes, there, so I've got the trajectory right, and we'll have to put the dash brackets back in, just here, so we know exactly where they sit. Well, but I'm fiddling around with this. I'm not quite there yet. I'm short there. I'm bleeding about that, but I've also got a gap there. But, you know, on the whole, it's not too bad. What did surprise me is the close proximity to the pedal box. Like, that's right up there, which doesn't surprise me, but it shouldn't surprise me, put it that way. Oh. It comes with fiberglass, more of it. There's another bit there. So, I reckon maybe the easiest way, I have to sort of pie cut that, and that goes further back. But I reckon I can I might tack it. I'll clean it off first because I've got that surface rust. I just want to tack it and see where I'm at with it. I'm just going to have to clean it up because it's too dirty to weld at the moment, particularly these sorts of areas, and I'm worried about thinning it out too much. Where's the other bit? Hang on. Oh, damn, it just goes there somewhere. Where is it? This bit. The vent pod doesn't matter because all it does is overlaps there. So I can effectively just take that out, otherwise I'm going to melt it. The pedal box I'm going to leave there for now. Probably fry a bit of that stuff off, but I'm just nervous about welding this. It's thin. No, that's not too bad. How thick's that? It's not as thick as this. But, focus. Come on. Focus. But, yeah, I am nervous. I'm going to have the welder on the lowest setting. But I might just take that vent pod out and just put a couple of tacks there and just see where we're at. Oh, actually, no, I can't. I've got to weld that first. Okay, just a minute. Started welding it in. Don't know what happened here. It was when I was setting the welder up. So some of it's pretty untidy, but by the time you knock them back, they're going to be fine. And I'll do this all along and then because that's not down yet. That's just sort of sitting there. But I'm going to come along here and then I'm going to knock that down. That's got a gap. I'm a bit worried about that gap. But, you know, it's work in progress. You can hear how dirty it is. And the blow-throughs. Well, that's about it for this. I still have to do another patch there, which I've got here. That's just sitting there at the moment. And that's just going to wrap around that bit there, and life's good. When you weld this stuff, I welded that and you can't even feel where it's been welded. A lot of people will keep grinding the welds down, and even if they're pretty crummy, you can just sort of add a bit more and grind them down, all this. But I'm not doing it. I'm leaving them proud and ugly. And the reason is because this stuff is going to go through. It was really hard to weld because it was blowing through everywhere, but I don't want to thin it any more than it already is. I don't think it's particularly rusted in those areas. It's just surface rust. It's dirty. It's not welding very well. This stuff just straight across and it's nice. So I'm running out of time. I've got to go away tomorrow. And when I get back, I'll finish that bit off there. And it should be good. There's just a couple of bits in the inside I've still got to do. I've also got to hammer and dolly this down. I might even have to add a bit more there. This is what happens when you don't measure properly. I didn't measure at all. I just sort of did it by eye. Bent that over a table at work. And I also have to take those welds down there for that sort of gutter. And then that has to establish fall as well. So I put a bit of water in there before. It seems all right. It's not running away in a hugely fast pace or anything, but you know, I'm actually pretty pleased with it. You know, once this is in and I can put that whole plenum back on and clean up all around the window and everything, it's all done. You know, it's going quite well. So I can do, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll do that hole in the floor down there, and I'll wire brush the snot out of that floor just to make sure there's no other leaks, or rust holes, sorry. Then there's a small hole there on the sill. Just put a patch in that. I'll drill these hinges, take them out, make sure there's nothing behind there. And then the whole front of the car is finished, right? There wasn't much on it. I've got that door ready to reskin. And there's just a little bit in the rear quarters and where the gas tank was. But I've got to take the fuel tank out for that, and I still haven't taken it out yet. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves. And I'll see you soon.